Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this webinar, Feed Your Baby's Hungry Brain. This webinar is all about the hungry brain of a child which is hungry for knowledge, hungry for learning, hungry to grow. And how do we feed this hungry brain? The different ways and methods that would support a child or a baby to actually get fed. The way we learn, the way our brain fits, we grow is very much different from their world. Though children are young adults, but their method of learning, understanding, even responding is completely different. I'm Hemali Gada, founder of Hungry Brain. Hungry Brain, by the name Hungry Brain, has been revamped in 2016, but we are in brain development with almost 2 decades. In this journey about how human brain develops, how human brain grows, we've come across a lot of things which is like astonishing. It's like, oh, is it really this way? We were thinking something else, and for years and centuries, we are providing the nourishment or the food to the brain in a very different way. But the brain understands in a very different way. With this perspective, with all our learnings that we have had, we have come out with this free webinars. So we are on a mission, and our mission is to guide parents to make the best use of the costliest resource on the planet, the human intelligence. Anything, if you would say, the biggest and the most intelligent computer on the world is also much less than the intelligence that human brain has. And we're going to talk about this. And while talking this, on the mission where we could guide our parents, we are on the next milestone to have 1 lakh children solve equations and read independently before 3 years of age. You will understand the importance of 3 years very soon. But this mission we've created because the kind of learning ability that the child has at a very young age is extremely different. And when we do not utilize this ability diminishes, vanishes. And then again we have to start learning. So this webinar is going to be in 2 parts. The first part would be where you would be understanding how brain develops, how our inputs are important as a parent, how what all happens in the brain with those inputs. So with this understanding, you will actually get new openings for your parentings. Each and every day, the way the day passes, I'm sure that this learning from this webinar will make a difference in your days and weeks and years to go. And the second part would be where you would get a brief about what Hungry Brain programs and materials are. So before I start ahead with what I want to say, I'll throw a question. So what is learning? What is learning for you? What do you mean by learning? So who will go ahead with what is learning? And you can also obviously put the answer in the chat box as well. So what is learning? Yes, someone raised the hand. Duraksha and Sham, if you can slow down your hand. Nikita shared learning is to get knowledge. Yes. What else? What else would you put learning as? Yes, Duraksha.
Learning is a show towards their gestures, the experience we learn, and show in our gestures in our daily life.
Yeah, so there
And
would be
learning is lifelong, not formal. Just informal learning is also learning.
absolutely learning. So rather, learning could be formal and informal, but both are learnings. Thanks. Ahmad has shared is to understand surroundings and tackling situations. The way dictionary says learning is acquiring new skills, information, or anything that shifts personality, that brings an add-on or a change in the kind of behavior, understanding, and belief that the person would have. And The first part of the learning is grasping information, just taking it, and then it would be retaining it, analyzing it, and moving ahead. So we'll take the first part of learning, which is grasping it. So there are various researches, and various researchers have different sayings. One of the group of researchers, they say that highest grasping capacity of any human being in the life is for the first 2 years after the birth. So take any 2 years in the life, whatever kind of learning that the person would have would be maximum in this 2 years, the first 2 years. Now this is set of researchers. There another set of researchers. They say the 2 years is a big span, a huge span. If we see into a little more micro ways, it is first 2 months. First 2 months after birth, that really matters a lot. In this time, whatever the child learns and understands is the highest in the entire life. Now there's another group of researchers. They say that the first 2 days after the birth are enormous grasping time and learning time for the child. Anything that you would learn in the entire life, the maximum learning happens in this first 2 days. Now, again, a time for question. What do you think child is learning in this first 2 days? What are the things that child is grasping or learning? First 2 days after birth, there would be the time where child would hardly take anything. Amada shared is, will it be like giving a huge load for that brain in the earlier stage itself? No, this is what researchers say, Ahmed. What I'm putting down is not what giving learning to the child, but what the child's or a human being's inborn ability is. The highest grasping ability is in the first 2 days. Yeah,
Sucking
sucking and taking food, yes. And when does this start?
from birth.
From the day of birth
When it
itself.
when the child take her or his first breast milk,
Yes, yes,
second
Duraksha.
start, and the feel when she or he touch their mother, father,
Yes. With touch, what happens?
touch, so touch, feel, feel.
Feel. So by feel, even
You,
baby can feel that this
they
is my
feel.
mother and this is
Hmm.
the closed one. Yes.
My father and the
Yes.
other parents,
Other
sorry,
parents.
other
As Advaita
G,
shared, three primary caregivers, feeling of
primary
warmth
care.
and comfort. Yeah. So adding on to what all you shared, in the first 2 days itself, baby is just not getting accustomed to the room environment, the light, the temperature, the stretching, but also the complete touch of the body alters. From liquid stage, it becomes to air and solid state, like some cloth and something. About the digestive system, about the excretion, these are also learned along with feeling and understanding that this is my mom, this is my dad. No, all this a baby could do, the kind of learning that baby would have. No, even speaking or the crying, the vocal sound, everything happens. Individual independent breathing, everything happens in first 2 days of life itself. And this is all possible only because the learning ability is extremely high. The energy that the child has, a newborn has, is enormous. This small infant, we would say, tiny little person with a bundle of energies. Researchers have gone beyond to understand the ability of the child to learn and explore the world. And they have found that on the day of birth itself, babies could recognize the mothers by the sound and smell. Why? Because they're born learning hungry. They're learning from the womb. And that's what they could get accustomed to this world, to this new environment in few hours itself. Because that's the ability that they have. So moving forward to this kids their abilities. Now we as adults have the ability to capture 147 bits of information every second. So anything that comes in front of you for a second and goes away, we, when we're paying full attention, would just take 147 bits of information. So now what's this bits of information? If you could just see me, well, I'll show you an image, and in a second time, in a fraction of 2 3 seconds, I'll take the picture back. Do share on with type, because there will be a lot of parents and a lot of chaos and sound coming in, and I will read whatever you're sharing. Do share with on the chat, what do you see, what did you see in this picture? Okay, ready with answering the chat. Yeah, what did you see, what all did you see in this picture?
A man with a red robe,
A old man,
kavda,
yes, kavda, shovel,
and a jacket,
a jacket,
cap,
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 what else, a gardener, which means type, that's
with
accurate word, yeah.
maybe
What did you see? What else? Everyone, type in the chat. What did you see? What that person had in the gardener had in his hand?
a flower,
Okay.
flowers,
Kit, which color flowers?
red or yellow,
Red, yellow. Okay. What else? What was his yellow flowers? What was his shirt's color? Yeah, Pragya.
gray,
Gray color shirt, trouser.
blue,
What kind of shoes he had?
black,
Okay.
black leather,
Okay. There were pot for planting plants. Yes. How many pots were there? Two pots. Okay. What kind of shoes he was wearing? So now just see, these are the answers that we're getting. All these things that was shared, like he was wearing a shirt, a full sleeve shirt, old man, looks like a gardener. They all are bits of information. Even number of buttons on the shirt, the holes that the buttons have, and the color of the button, the shape of the button, they all are called bits of information. Now we, when we're very alert, totally active and listen, obvious, with full focus and concentration, we as adults can capture 147 bits of information. Now, what do you think this young baby is, 2 3 5 month old baby? How much could they capture? It would be 1/10 of ours, half of ours, as much as ours, more than us. What do you think? What would be their
more
capacity to
than
take
us,
in information?
more than us, because the babies are very concentrated towards the thing.
Yes. More, Ahmed also shares more. More, how much more? Researchers say that baby captures 2000 bits of information every second. That's like 13 times their ability to learn is faster than us. And that's the learning hunger that they have. Now with this learning hunger, we have to understand something, that one is that babies learn at a high speed. If you're seeing something at this speed, whatever we as an adults will see and understand, babies would learn 13 times more than us. The curiosity to know is extremely high. And when this learning hunger is fed, what happens? What do you think when we provide learning to the child? When child learns, what does the child experience? What what is there that happens even for us also? That happens with the learning in our brain. The major thing that happens with learning is there's a secretion of the hormone which gives a very good feeling of happiness. Dopamine gets released. It's a very good happy-go-lucky experience that the person has. For you to understand this feeling, what I'm talking about, suppose if you're going to climb a tree, climb a mountain. If you could relate to what I am, just imagine you're climbing a mountain. It took you 4 hours to climb a mountain. You would have got hurt. There would be luggage with you. That's like weight, difficult. Oh, for a task. But when you reach on the top of the mountain, those first two breaths are like, wow, isn't it? That satisfaction that one gets when reaching on the top of the mountain, it just eradicates all the hurt and everything. It just washes away. Why? Because that experience is much, much more than all the difficulties. That's what human beings experience. And this is the experience of a baby. When they get learning, there's a different hormonal secretion that happens in the brain. And that hormonal secretion gives a very good, calm, satisfying, being content experience. And the children who are fed well neurologically, like whose brains are fed well, these human beings are said to be settled people in life. They are not the one who would be violent or aggressive. The one who would be mature and understanding. The kind of food that the child gets as an exposure and in learning really, it alters the kind of personality they are in the life. A complete turnaround in the personality. So this is what we would say that happens in the brain while we are learning as an experience. Now we'll see what happens in the brain due to which this experience has come. So brain consists of 100 billion neurons, the brain cells, and each neuron mainly consists of nucleus which stores information. So all the information that we have has been stored in the nucleus. And the multiple dendrites which grow, which are like as a wiring among neurons. They connect each neurons. They act as wiring. They would have no information being shared, and when the information is being shared, that's where only thinking and analyzing happens. So if we'll see this image, the dendrites that is there here at the very young age, that's the dendrites that grows. This small nucleus, as exposure grows, in the last one, if you could see here in this one, there are a lot of dendrites that are growing. Now, these dendrites, they grow with every new learning that the child gets. The new learning and the dendrite grows. If it's repetitive, it's not growth of the dendrites. It's something else, and we'll come to that also. But every dendrites that it grows, it has this hormonal secretion and a feel-good factor for the child, for the life. Here we'll see in the brain of a child. If you could see this four part of the brain, they are proportionally kept. Newborn 6 months, 12 months, and 2 years. They all have 100 billion neurons. What you and I also have. So 100 billion neurons, that is the ability to store information, is the same. Now the brain weight alters in the size alters. So at the birth, it's like 370 grams. Then it increases as 500 grams. Then goes to double in 6 months, 955 grams and 1080 grams. Now if you see this, a very little difference between the first and the second year, isn't it? But a huge difference from these 370 grams to 955 grams. It's almost 3 times. Now, what happens in this 3 times, and what's an outcome that happens in this is if you could see the various activities and things the children learn in the first year. And with this learning, the lot of dendrites they grow, and the brain grows, the ability of the child grows, and child learns so many things. It's like pulling the hand out or pulling the things towards self, balancing the body, lifting the head and the body, holding things, sitting with support, sitting independently, crawling, walking, climbing. If you see, whatever we do in the entire lifespan, the basics are there in the first year itself. Why? Because the learning ability of the child is extremely high. But what will take more energy? There are two children, child A and child B. Child A is learning to ride a bicycle. He would try to acquire balance, fall down again, no, just little would cycle, and after maybe 30-40 meters again lose his balance. And there's child B who's cycling for half an hour. Both the children are doing the same activity for half an hour. I mean, both are with cycle. One is learning to acquire balance and one is actually cycling. What do you think? Which child would require more energy? The right answer is child A, because child A is putting a lot of attention, focus to balance the body, to ensure that The cycle is balanced, the pedaling is done at proper time, his body is in a proper shape, and child B would be just cycling and maybe singing a song and moving around ahead. Now, if you see this image, everything that a child learns, a human being does in the entire life, the foundations are there laid down in the first year itself. Why? Because that's where the energy level is extremely high. And that's where, if you could see, the brain grows to that extent. And with every new learning that the child does, dendrites grow. Now, here is a science part, which is like an amazing thing. Each neuron can have anywhere between a few and 1 lakh dendrites connecting to each other. Now, this dendrites, when they are there, it's like 1 lakh dendrites, then the connections is huge. We'll soon have an activity where I would require one or two parents to participate in this activity, and you can actually understand the power of dendrites. Okay, but just to say that if we ask and say that we hardly use even 1% of our brain. So what is this 1%? It's not that out of this whole brain we're just using one part and the rest is unused. No, that's not it is. But the science is true that we use 1% of the brain and we use entire brain. The fact is that out of 1 lakh dendrites, we would hardly have 1,000 dendrites grown, and that's not even 1% or 1%, and we do not even go to that extent of using our brain's intellect. That's where it is said that we hardly use 1% of our brain. So now we'll understand the power of dendrites. So for those who hear now, people who've not shared till now, I would like one of you to volunteer. I'll ask you a simple question. Okay, a very simple question, and you to answer it. It will take around 20-30 seconds for you to answer. So, who would want to be? Just raise your hand and I'll choose. So, Bhavna, I would ask you, I would give you one alphabet. Okay, and you
Yes,
will
ma'am.
say as many words as you can from that alphabet. Any
Okay.
word, simple, easy English. Okay,
Yeah.
anything difficult in it? Any questions?
No, 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 nothing difficult.
Yeah, this whole dictionary you can start speaking on, but we'll stop the game or stop this exercise when you have a pause, which is like 2-3 seconds. Like you're thinking,
Okay.
and we'll take a pause. Right?
Okay.
Sounds interesting?
Yeah.
So we'll not take your alphabet B, we'll take alphabet A. So say as many words as you can from alphabet A.
Ant, animal, Akshay, an apple. Uh, See, it's very difficult. A for, I'm thinking, and a road.
Oh, a road is A.
Very
R.
difficult.
So what happened now? Now I'm sure you know many more words from A, right?
Yeah, alligators. See, for a second, no, my brain stops. Okay, let me think.
Great. Thank you. What do you
It's like
think
a
is happening?
Baptist.
Yes, Harsha?
There are too many, like when you study with your kids, you remember, but when you ask, you will not remember.
And why does this happen?
Because we suddenly get like nervous or conscious
It's
that
not about
someone is
nervous and
saying something you're
conscious.
telling.
If you see Bhavna's smile, she's not at all nervous and conscious. And she's so at home, at ease.
My brain started thinking more actually. What
Wow.
can I tell? How it can be new? I don't want it old. Use the old words.
Mm-hmm. So you thinking of something new, and also could you feel that there for a second or two it was like it's blank state, कुछ नहीं याद आ रहा है. I'm lost like.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Now this coming slides will actually explain the fact why this happens. So it's not about how much we know in life. Those informations that we know are being shared and stored in neurons. Neurons with ample of neurons, like 100 billion neurons. Enough for having the entire universe knowledge to be stored. They're that huge. So it's not lack of learning ability that we have or taking in information that we have, but it's more of processing and recall ability. So now for everyone to understand, so out of 100 billion neuron, it would be one neuron that would say, okay, let me answer this question. And like when Bhavna shared, it's like one neuron will say, I'm the captain and I'll give you words. Okay. And then that neuron will have say two dendrites and they're connected to two more neurons. And will say, hey neurons and your nucleus, I would want your information. And then this, just imagine they have two more dendrites, each of them. They connected to each neurons. So the total neurons available right now, or the information available right now, is from the neurons of 7. The nucleus from 7 neurons. After that, the time cannot be, in those few seconds, the ideas and thoughts will not come. So even though the 100 billion neurons would have all the information, but due to dendrites which are 2, the information that is available right now to process, think and respond will just come to 7. Now here, just imagine as a parent, when we have known this, that dendrites really make a lot of difference in our child's ability, and this dendrites grow with new learnings, and we can provide new learning to our children, and we provide those learnings, and their dendrites grow. And when these dendrites grow, in the place of say one nucleus having 2 dendrites, just imagine it has grown 5 times more. Then it's like 10 dendrites they grown, and they connected to 10 different neurons, and they in turn will have 10 each connected to 10 other neurons. Now how many nucleus would be available for the information to revert back? It's 111. Initially it was what? 7. 5 times more dendrites, and the nucleus available is not 5 times more, nor even 10 times more, but 15 times and more. So little efforts that we put on our child's dendrites to grow, this huge outcome that happens in the output that they have. And this difference really matters a lot. Because more the dendrites, better the connectivity among neurons. And more neurons are there, then this connectivity is that determine the quality of capturing information, understanding, analyzing, and responding. So it's not that Bhavna did not know more words, but the dendrites connections that she had are limited. It's not about Bhavna, it would be any person. For us, you and me, our dendrites and our parents haven't worked on us when we were very young to this extent. We've generally grown up with the circumstances we've got, isn't it? There was no special learning that was provided to us in a way that the dendrites grow. And for us, like as Harsha shared, that it would be 10. We have this research done with thousands of parents. We've asked, it would be teachers, if it's someone who's in education field and a lot with the words and the dendrites grow at a different level, their recall ability is better, and then the answer would be anywhere between 8 and 13. For a mother, a lay person, it would be anywhere between 3 and 8. For a person who is into education, it would be little more. But beyond 15 words, the recall is extremely rare. Apart from the food and everything that we give to the child, we as parents need to give our children those exposures with which dendrites grow. Now you would say, it's okay. What's the point of having those dendrites grown? Then there's another science which says that every child is born with enormous brain potential, which you either use it or lose it. If you do not have this dendrites growth, you lose it. You use it and they grow it. If you do not use it, you lose it. So here it is, in using it, it will have 2 things. One, growing them and making them strong. So now we're going to see a video where you will understand this loss, what I'm talking about. And if you could recollect to the first thing that we shared, why we're having this webinar is to have the most costliest and expensive resource being utilized well, that is human resource. Now we could actually see with this video why this is so expensive a resource as a resource. But in this video for synaptic pruning, you'll see three things. One, you'll see this light. If you could see this, the light passing. So when new dendrites grow and they are connected, the network is connected, that's when neural network is formed and thinking happens. Thinking, understanding, analyzing happens. That's where you could see those lights passing. They're nothing else but the electromagnetic waves. The second thing you will see is that when these dendrites, they come closer, and with more of use, they become strong, 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 strong. And the third thing that you will see is when they're not being used well, these connections will shrink and then they'll fade away. Now, this is a process that happens daily in life. But the crucial period in life, which is between first and the second birthday, where a lot of things happen differently. There's huge hormonal secretion that happens, and during this phase, the dendrites connections which are not strong, they shrink and fade away. And they fade away for life. That's why the human resource is so expensive. If you have not used it, it loses away.
These connections form circuits that become the basic foundation of brain architecture. Circuits and connections proliferate at a rapid pace and are reinforced through repeated use. Our experiences and environment dictate which circuits and connections get more use. Connections that are used more grow stronger and more permanent. Meanwhile, connections that are used less fade away through a normal process called pruning. Well-used circuits create lightning-fast pathways for neural signals to travel across regions of the brain. Simple circuits form first, providing a foundation for more complex circuits to build on later.
So this is simple circuits, they're the foundation for having the complex circuits for the life. So these simple circuits, they decide a lot about the life. How things would grow ahead and move ahead in life. So would put it this way, that if this dendrites, the loss has been saved at a very early stage, this is like the foundation for the future life. If you're losing, it's like when there's more dendrites and learning is there, more information could be taken in, more brain cells are connected, more dendrites grow, more brain cells are connected, more information could be taken on, and it grows multiple times. And if the brain or the intellect is not being used, it's lost. We would spend lakhs of rupees in schools and academics for the child's intellect development. But when we lose out so many dendrites, all this amount would hardly have an outcome. So in the coming slides, you'll actually see in the pictorial form that what's the impact that happens with the growth. Okay, out of this 4 slides, if you see 4 images, you can see the kind of dendrites that are there for a newborn. And then as the child grows, they increase. This is somewhere before pruning, and this is something that happens after the pruning. Can you see the loss that is there? Now, this is something which is extremely important for us parents to understand. Seeing it in the graph point of view, we'll see now 2 ways what is there in our hands. So the x and y axis, one is the intellectual development that happens every second or every minute, and here is the life phase with the birth, and 2 phases, that is before pruning and after pruning, that's second birthday. So the kind of exposure that you and I have, every second the dendrites grow. After, when the pruning process happens, with the hormonal secretion, lot of dendrites are shrinking, the connections are shrinking, and the intellect development comes to a downfall. And after that, it takes ahead in the life. But the angle of the slope also really alters. The capacity is different. Now, thanks to the science, that today we are aware that these dendrites, they play a huge role in child's life. And when we give timely stimulation to the child, stimulation is nothing else but those kind of learning which will actually impact the dendrites growth. The dendrite growth will happen to a huge extent, It will come down during the process of pruning. That's human tendency. It will come. But it will grow ahead after that. And if you could see the distance here in the red arrow, that's the difference, which is the foundation for each child's uniqueness to emerge. After this time, it would be like the intelligence that the child has versus I have to take on whatever is available from the world and take it as my learning and understanding and move ahead in life. So that's a huge difference that actually happens. And this is what is there in our hands as parents. I would say that a formal teacher enters or gets introduced in a child's life at a very later stage. When I say later stage, specifically it is that after the pruning process is completed. Actually, the best teacher are the parents, you. Parents are the first and the best teacher for the child, and with which you can actually take care of a lot of things. Now, here I want to share windows of opportunity, a research by Harvard University. This research has been very crucial for those whose children would be more than 2 years, 4 years, 3 years. This will give you a lot of insights. Everyone, for you, it would be a lot of insights on what you can do right now. Now, what is window of opportunity? Now, every growth has some particular period when it is at its peak. That's how human beings are designed. And this, it's like an example, like you and I would exercise maybe 6 hours a day. Would our height grow? No, isn't it? Why? Because the window of opportunity for our height to grow is gone. So in the same way, there are different windows of opportunities that really matter and they impact a lot to the child. So in this graph, if you see in X and Y, this like during the conception period, then is the birth and the age 1. And after that, whatever you see is in years. The area between the birth and the age 1 is in months. Now there are 3 graphs that Harvard University has come with. First is the orange line that you could see is the sensory pathways. These sensory pathways are for developing the pathway where there would be an input that the child would get. Input as in say touch. And this input will develop the pathway. From touch, the information will go to the brain by sensory nervous system. There will be some thinking and happening that would happen in the brain. And then this information would be analyzed and a response would be sent from the brain to the body again via motor nervous system for muscles to respond accordingly. Now, the maximum growth period of having this sensory pathways been developed is not from the conception but from first month to 6 months of life. After that too, the graph would decrease, but the kind of exposure that we give, the kind of output on the same exposure is extremely high during this phase. And this sensory pathways, they form the foundation of each and every other learning that happens in life. Like the sensory pathway of vision, when it is developed and a child, a very young child, as young as 1 month, 1.5 month, 2 months, they could see independently, clearly. And when the child can see things clearly, they could understand well. What do you think when child understands well, how would the child or that baby respond? Obviously, you could see that the movement of hand and legs, it would be like increased when the child responds well, understands well. And with this increase of hand and legs movement, there is a demand on the lungs to work better. With this demand on lungs to work better, it really performs well. And that's the reason why we do exercise, isn't it? The heart and lungs and the muscles, they get stronger. And then with this demand of lungs, the respiration focus has been done well, and the respiration controls our vocal. And with this vocal, it impacts clarity in speaking, in this sound. So there's a lot of things that happen over one pathway. When sensory pathway is developed well, this have given you an example for vision, there are many more pathways. But when they're formed well, the other pathways start developing and eventually The outcomes would be at that time, but then they would be better, faster, and in a different way. The milestones would be earlier, better. Now, children who are deprived of sensory exposure in this time, they would require sensory stimulation or sensory intervention at a later stage. If you would go to Google, browse, or maybe Instagram, and you see there's so many things that are required as in sensory play or sensory therapy. And why is all this required? Why sensory intervention, sensory therapy? This is all because sensory stimulation was given less during this phase. Rather, saying it other way around, when sensory stimulation is provided appropriately during its high window of opportunity, it's been taken care for the life. The next window of opportunity is about language. Now, language does not mean here about speaking, it's more about listening. It is said that after a child would hear something for hundreds of times, that's where the child would speak. The first step of language is speaking. No, first step of language is listening. So we say language more as speaking, but it's listening. And that's the window of opportunity where the ability to listen is extremely high. And if you could see, the peak of this graph itself is before the first birthday. The kind of words and exposures that you can give to your child is extremely high during this phase. It is said that in our normal day-to-day life, we would just use hardly 800 words. Our 80% of our language and communication would comprise of the 80% of words. And the kind of exposure that the child would get would be quite limited. When you give an exposure which is appropriate, more vocabulary is being exposed and more language would be exposed to the child. In this, do not go into the tunnel of exposing the child with gadgets. It will not work. Rather, it will have the learning curve come down. How? You know it. Like if you go to a party where there's live orchestra and one party there's DJ, which is going to attract you more and which will actually make you dance and have the rhythm move in your body? The live one, isn't it? Anytime. Children can experience the difference between them and they get tuned off. They're off when it's like a recorded one. So if you want to have the learning curve with language, have it with the live music, live languages, live person speaking. What this research also, the research is many researches that have been happening that what a child of 10-month-old can hear, a child of 3 years can't. Because the ability to listen is extremely high in this phase. And for those whose children have crossed 1 year, there's a good news for you too. There's another window of opportunity, which is higher cognitive function. And this window of opportunity is there at its peak till 5 years. The kind of thinking that the child would do in the entire lifespan is the time here. And this is the time where a lot of magic happens. So friends, as a parent, there's certain things that you need to understand. Whatever kind of parenting you would give, but the learning graph declines with age. You have no control over it. That's how we are born and brought up. With every passing day, the learning ability of the child decreases. That's the reason, if you could say there's something new, a child would understand and learn much faster than an adult, isn't it? Even a 1 year old child who's been exposed to mobile and YouTube would know where to go on the mobile, what to click, and how the YouTube would open, and lot many things. And for an adult, it would take like months to understand how. No, if you take a 70-year-old or a 60-year-old or a 50-year-old, how do I type a message on a WhatsApp and how things happen? But young babies can do it fast. Why? Because the input that they require is very less and the output as a learning is extremely high. So parents, whatever we want to give to our child, we always know, as a parent, we give our best to our child. But with every learning, every day passing, the learning ability decreases. So in other words, younger the baby, better the learning ability, isn't it? So start early and grow smarter. Have a smarter child. It's in your hands. It's not the kind of expenses and inputs that you would have for your child in schools and tuitions and colleges. But when the foundation is right, your child may not even require tuitions. and then to your child would be like apt. Teacher teaches once and the child knows it, and everything you say it and child remembers it. This is the ability that's been formed. So exposure to Hungry Brain programs during the first 2 years ensures both retaining and enhancing the inborn intellectual capacities of the child. That's where Hungry Brain is completely focused into. We have, in the area of a child's brain development, we have done extensive study of multiple researchers, extracted the essence from them, and designed simple programs and services. So, in a couple of slides, I'll come to the kind of programs and services that we have and we can offer. And I'm sure by now, whatever you've taken in and you've understood for the child's development, that dendrites growth is important. They grow a lot in the first year. In the pruning stage, if you do not have the dendrites which are grown and the neural connections which are formed stronger with appropriate repetitions, they would die. And then the intellect ability that the child will have after that would be limited. This first death, this pruning will take away a lot from the child's life. So invest invest in your child's intelligence before it dies. And for those who find and happy with whatever learning you've found till now, I would thank you for being here in this webinar and would want you to ensure that you give a lot of learning to your child which is age appropriate and apt, research based, apt and simple for young children to take in information, have the dendrites grow, which will make a turn around in their life. And for those who want to understand what Hungry Brain is available, you can be a part of here and think of considering what all you can have. You will also see videos of what children have come up to with using these programs and choose to have it for your child. And you may not choose it also, that's fine. But you can at least understand that this is what is available for your child's life. So Hungry Brain has an intention. It prepares a child for taking up all learning responsibilities with joy and willingness. It is a child who wants to learn and not a parent who wants to teach. And when this hunger as a practice grows, it really brings miracles. And in this area, Hungry Brain is the pioneer in designing methods where the magic is in the process. And this process itself impacts the child in such a way that the timely exposures of Hungry Brain programs during the first 4 years develops the child to be extremely curious and learning friendly. It ensures the family life being a life where there's no friction for learning or academics in life. We've seen that majority of the frictions that happen for a school going child is with exams, study, learning. But just imagine when that just goes away, how beautiful the life would be. And that's the vision that Hungry Brain has. And when you order any of a program, a major support that is there is we have a dedicated parent support team who assists parents with the customized coaching for the entire tenure. So whatever program you would take, which I'll now start with, there would be a team member who would be there to support you. You would be getting whenever you have any problem, connect to the person. You send a video and your whatever way it would be going, a team would see the video, decode and connect back with you on what all to do. As the child grows, there would be different phases that the child would come across. It would be either the child would roll and move or crawl or walk and move ahead. Your way of showing and the child's ability to understand and see would alter, and that's where our parent support team would be a backbone. This is an optional support. There's no compulsion. You may not share your videos, you may not connect to our team, and you have parent guide which is self-sufficient, and you can have the child's growth happening other way around. This is an optional activity, but trust me, when you follow this parent support team's method and get this support, your entire journey would be awesome. So, want to know how many of you are expecting parents? If you just put E that you're expecting parent in the uh, chat box, or the age of your child, how many months they are there, you can just relate it. So, to enable parents for child's development, we've got material. Now, why do we have material? It was years back, uh, saying it's 2010, a decade back. We, we used to have this information shared with people around that this is extremely important for your child. Like, how you there, 2 months, 3 months, 5 month old baby. We used to have parents whom I used to train personally on how to make material at home and have the best for the child. We saw certain challenges. One, there was a lack of time that the parent had, and the parent would prefer that rather than me making, let me have something which is ready, and I would want to spend time with my child. Second, even if the parent would have time and want to make, there's so many parents who would make things by themselves. There would be a limitation of the material that you would get, the right kind of material, images, and certain things. The third, you may have the right kind of material, but the understanding of it, what would be accurate? Like if you want to say, suppose, show cars with different animals. If you take lion, there's so many a lion. It's not any lion that really makes the difference. No, we our team invest 2 to 3 months on just making one set of 24 cards, and this 2 to 3 months we actually go dip dive into, if it's like lion, we would have 30, 40 lions that we would see which one is appropriate, which is the angle that the child would want to see or perceive it in a better way, and so ahead. So that was another reason that we could find out that parents would want something ready made and they would not prefer making it. And the last thing that we found out is it's much different from our daily life. Now, for us, we could give a dress to be stitched to a new tailor, but for a child, we may not go for a tailor, isn't it? We would prefer to have a branded cloth or some cloth which whose fabric and the things we could trust. So for our children, a parent would not prefer trial and testing. With all these things in 2012, we put our foot down that okay, what the world really needs, what the parent really needs is the ready material which is trial tested, safe, and easy to use. Just not ready to use, but easy to use. And we spend years, and there's a huge team on how do we make things simple. So you've got wide range of programs that you could use, customized it. A lot of thinking has come behind all of this. So if you're an expecting or a new parent, so your child is below 2 months, you can start with enhancing the sense of smell. If you're expecting, you can start with that. It is extremely important to have this exposure of sense of smell as a stimulation. Why? Now, at birth, every child could relate or know her mother by her smell. On day one, baby can't see the mother and say, "Oh, this is my mom." No, that seeing and understanding phenomena will take 2 3 months. But the smell is the first thing that the child could relate with. This is the sense which is most developed during the fetal stage. So even when you are expecting, this is something that you can start with. And for the child who's very young, this enhancing the sense of smell really matters. For we human beings, the smell matters. So there's a reason we use body spray and perfumes, isn't it? And even if it's a soap for bathing, its fragrance does matter for us. It really impacts the emotional part of our brain. And this ability of identifying mother at the birth eventually vanishes when we do not use it. A 3-year-old can't. We can't recognize people by smell, isn't it? This human ability with the pruning goes away. But when we use it, we make it stronger, it stays for the life and it grows and gradually grows. So, with the sensory stimulation, the first sensory pathway that you could see in the window of opportunity, these are the three things that are there enhancing the sense of smell. Sensory stimulation for newborns, if it's a preterm baby, there's a different set, and the newborn is a different set. Sensory mat is a mat which has got different textures which will support the baby to have the control over body. So for babies below 7 months, 6 months, 1 month, 2 month, you can start with early brain stimulation program. So here we've got two parts: early brain stimulation program for newborns. If your baby is you were expecting or you have a very young baby, and for babies between 3 months to 6 months, it's a little customized one where you will not require these starter cards, which are meant for the starting days of the baby. So, and then we'll replace it with additional smell. So if you've got a preterm baby, when you're going to purchase the program, will have different smells. The combination of smell, there's a lot of science behind it. For preterm babies or babies in NICU, would require a different set, and we have that sensory stimulation for preterms and NICUs. You can go ahead with that. And obviously, guiding for this is much more than right brain. This is whole brain. When you just stimulate the right brain, the left brain will not be stimulated. The child will become hyperactive, and this child would probably have attention deficient at a later stage. So,
Madam,
yes,
can
yes.
I speak regarding this, madam? Actually, I am doing your program since my baby is day zero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dipti.
Now I am in a life skill development program, and I
Uh-huh.
am happy with your program. One more thing, I have doubt regarding that there are some right brain activities like linking memory, peg memory, and mandala memories. Are they really required apart from this program,
Not
or
at
this
all.
program itself?
Not at all. Your child knows, child's ability is much more than linking memory also. And all the
Okay.
three. The kind of,
Shall I skip all those?
say
Can
again?
I skip all those things?
Yes, you
Can I
can.
skip all those things?
Yes, you can. And when you're using life skill development program, nothing would be else would be required in these areas. Your child's brain is already equipped with this. Yeah, this program it develops thinking skills. These thinking skills are very different for young babies, and Hungry Brain is the pioneer in the entire globe for developing thinking skills. So, if there's a remote and there's a mobile, they both are rectangle in shape, they both have a screen and almost something. One, we would use it near our ears, other one, we won't use it like this, but rather we would use it this way. If it's dirty, we would clean it. Here, the mobile, we would put it into charging. This, we never put into charging. The kind of care that happens with two rectangle things is so different. Now, this and there are enormous such questions that the child's mind is bongling on. And that's where they require support in understanding. Obviously, they will understand as time goes. But this thinking stimulation cards and the early brain stimulation program, they form as a clue to understand how these things happen. Why when I enter here, the why this door opens this way, why this door opens this way, why things come in a different manner, all those whys, they're not answered with this program, but the ability by which they think and understand develops. So that's why, Dipti, I share that you may not go for all those things because this ability is already formed with thinking stimulation cards. So, any child who's below 7 months, this is the best thing you can have. We will not recommend this program to parents whose children have crossed this age. It's no harm to your child, but the ability to decode those things, those, if you could see the window of opportunity with the graph, the higher cognitive function which starts at the age of 10 months, we want these three sets to be complete by that time, so that in that phase of high cognitive function, that window of opportunity growing, the brain could focus on other evaluating things. So with which this program we've just covered is this thinking skills, then the sharpening photographic memory, where they see and remember, the see and remember. Anything which has been seen has been remembered and recollected for a longer time. And the association building skills is extremely strong. When we're talking about linking memory, this just basic of it. This like just senior KG, junior KG. This is like 8, 9. the ability to associate. Remember the exercise that we did about alphabet A? That's also ability to associate as many different words with alphabet A. Right now, the recall has to be fast. And the vocabulary building and reading skills are developed at a very high level in this program. You get the support from the parent support team for the entire tenure. You'll be a part of WhatsApp group. Now here, this is the beauty of this core program. There's a group over WhatsApp. Both mother and father can be a part of it, or even one person could be a part of it. And that group will have all the parents whose babies are born in that particular month and are using this program. So they're like-minded parents, and you will get a support from these parents where the understanding is relevant. They all are at same level. The children are going at same phases. You can have your questions with any areas of intellect or development there. And if you take this program directly from us, not from Amazon or other things, or directly from our team, you would get membership discounts on other programs as well. They're not all, but you would get in on Fun with Dots and Numbers and Life Skill Development Program and few others. So here you'll see this video.
Which is giraffe?
You'll just see a video and you'll be amazed to see how young babies develop their abilities with this program. Enjoy the video.
Which is giraffe? Arey wow! Which is flower? 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 Which flower?
Identify I. Which is I? Yes, that is I. Very good. Good. We'll go by one minute. 5 cards. Mom. Tanya, identify this mom. Which is mom? Mom. Yes, mom. Good. Ready? Yes.
This is THIS.
Me. That. Me.
WATH.
We. Play. In the heart of a dark forest lives a dragon. A tall fence runs all the way around his house, and the gate is always locked.
This is the kind of output that children have. Now, obviously they all have, is one common thing is Hungry Brain program, but if you could see one more common thing is the ability. Children at this young age, the stimulation, the dendrite growth is so high. And whatever you teach to the child would actually get it. They'll be able to learn it and understand it. The next program is Fun with Dots and Numbers. This is, though the pioneers are Glenn Domain and the team, but our Hungry Brain researchers are huge. We've deep dived into research with this Fun with Dots and Numbers on what exactly is required. Why do we need to have a specific size of the card or the image, or develop the vision of the child and have that ability to think developed? Also, how will a child understand equations? So if there are some equations that we would introduce the child in the initial stage, how would child learn all the equations? It's like, you know, the table of the method of multiplication. Tables a person would know maybe from 1 to 10 or 12 or 15 or 17, 20. We may not know table of 83 or 48 or anything. But suppose if you have to multiply 83 into 48, you can find the answer, isn't it? The method would be different. So we dived into what really takes for a human being to understand the method, for a child to understand the method, and have our whole parent guide, a very specific, a huge parent guide developed in a way in which a parent could use Fun with Dots and Numbers in an easy way, which is like a 1-year program with 5 stages. Your child can actually solve equations as well. So baby is able to perceive the quantity without counting and solve equations in 3 months of the time from the day you start. And again, you will get the support from our team. The 1,000+ equations that would be there. So now here you'll see and you'll be amazed. Take my words. You'll be speechless to see this baby Ved actually solve equations. This videos are a part of it. You can see the entire video on our website hungrybrain.in, or our Insta page, or on our YouTube Pro. But here you'll see the glimpse of it.
Give me the card of 56. 56. Oh my goodness.
काश में तुम भागे तो 56 में हाथ देते ही देखो
TV देखा
Give me the card of 60. Oh my goodness.
Isha, which is the largest number? Whoosh! Good job. Okay, I'm shuffling. Isha, which is the largest number? Ooh, good job.
Now tell Mama, how much is 60 minus 21? 60 minus 21? 39. Oh, correct. Very good. Okay. Now tell Mama, how much is 2 into 48? 2 into 48? Very good. Very nice.
Amazing, isn't it? Everything in life, any learning, any education you take, mathematics is the foundation. And the logics that the brain requires in mathematics are profound. The kind of brain that is utilized while using this logic is the highest level of intellect. So when a child could have this equation solved, it's just not a matter of knowing equations, but having the brain developed to that extent that now the brain is just not able to solve equations but understand those logics in life as well. So going ahead, we've got real image flashcards. For those whose children are now 7-8 months and above, you could not take any of these programs that we offer. You can have real image flashcards for accurate perception. White background for better focus, extremely important. Name at the back side to support the flipping. 3-sentence descriptions which develop the association at a very strong level. And various topics of flashcards. World country flags, 195 country flags, big size picture of flags without any distractions. Has country name on the back side to ensure fast flipping. And currencies and language spoken. There are many kids who use Hungry Brain programs and have come to Asia Book of Records, India Book of Records. We're not showing them obviously on the website because we do not want parents to run behind these degrees. But why I'm bringing here this point is children could do that. They could recognize 195 country flags at a very young age, as young as 1.5 to 2 years, because they have this ability. And this potential increases and grows with the time, with the age. And for babies or children above 1 year of age, we've got a life skill development program, a 12-stage program for overall development. One stage every month you would get at your home, and every month stage will take around 3 months for the child to acquire mastery over the concept. And each stage contains a set of flashcards, word cards, a storybook, a skill building toy, and an educational game. This will have overall view of it, and there would be videos on how to use this game or a toy in a particular way. The 15 to 20 different ways of using it, playing it, and this will actually develop the life skill of the child, the problem solving, the strategy building, understanding from different perspectives. Child will not be taken back by my mama says me no, but after using life skill development program, child will actually start thinking and understanding why my mama says no right now, and when will my mama say yes, or what will it take my mama to say an yes. that understanding and maturity develops with this life skill program. So this is all that we have. I would just have this story. I end with this story and then open the dice with a question. A brain development is like chess. The story of chess. If you know this game, chess or shatranj, this was invented in India. And when the inventor gave this game to the king, and the king was amazed, it's like, wow, what a game. And he thought of gifting that person with a superb gift, a marvelous gift for lifetime. And he called the person and asked, what gift do you want? And he said no. On insisting, then the person said, okay, king, if you insist so much, then divide my gift into 64 days, like 64 blocks or the cubes, squares of the chess. Divide my gift in 64 days, and every day you send me a grain of rice. We'll start with 1 grain. Today you give me 1 grain of rice. Tomorrow you double it too, and then for 64 days just double and give me, and I'll be more than happy that you're happy with it. The king is amazed. Is this person foolish? Has he made this game by some mistake? He could have asked for half of my kingdom, and I would have given him. And he's just asking for few grains of rice. And he started giving one on that day and told his minister to ensure that those things are given. And as days passed, the grains were passed. And after a few days, King did ask to the minister, is the gift going well? And minister said, yes, it's going well. And as time went, this amount went into lakhs and crores. Not even 32 days passed. In just 30 days, it went into crores. And soon the minister came running to the king and said, King, we cannot complete 64 days. The multiplication is huge. We could have 3, 4 more days. And if you want to increase it, you need to sell your entire kingdom. But 64 days is impossible. And then king saw and did this calculation and understood that it was no stupid person who made this chess, a very intelligent person whom he could not see that. Now the moral that I want to focus on in this story is that in the initial things, as the king saw 1, 2, 4, 8, what's this? Really makes no sense. We as humans really make this mistake. In the initial days, our inputs, whatever it be, the output for the child would be growth of 1 dendrites, 2 dendrites, 4 dendrites. We may not see the outcomes. But as these children grow, in 30 months, you'll see their different personality altogether. The kind of intellect ability that they will have is enormous. If you start 3 months late, it's not the initial 3 months that you discarding in your child's life, but 3 months would be from a later stage. The day you start stimulation is like day 1 with 1 dendrite growth, like 1 grain. So if you want your child's future to be secured in the area of intellect, start now, start soon. We want to give our child the best future they could have, isn't it? And the best future is having a strong intellect brain. It's just not intelligent, but emotionally settled. And that is possible when the hormones, that growth hormone happens in the intellect, in the brain, in a proper way. So friends, with this story and with this entire webinar, want to bring in front of you is this stage is a lifetime never come back stage. It's gone, it's gone. One day of the child goes without stimulation is a day loss of stimulation, which may not be just 1 day or 1 month now, but the future intellect that our child would have. So parents, those who are there here right now, your commitment is there, that's why you're there till now. Now, only thing that will make a difference is action. Go ahead, ask your questions, book your program, start stimulation with your child as soon as possible. Every day matters for your child, and your child's intelligence is making a difference on this globe. You have no clue the kind of intellect contribution that your child will do, and that's going to a new future. So thank you everyone for being here, being so engrossed, and just one thing: enjoy parenting. This is a journey that will never come again. The days that we have right now with the baby young would not be the same when they grow. Enjoy every day of parenting. Bye. Take care.